to introduce meditation to kids, and what is the best age for them to know meditation? Any advice of introducing meditation in schools? Meditation in schools has been there and done that. In 1973, in King's School, Ottery St Mary, Devon, I was asked to take the morning assembly for 5 days. So I went to the headmaster and said, "Is it okay if I teach meditation?" He said, "Yeah, why not? Give it a try." He knew I was a Buddhist. So I had 650 kids. It was boys and girls from 11 to 17. And so I went up on the stage and said, "I'm now going to teach how to do breath meditation." So sit comfortably, they sit comfortably, back straight. And that was one of the things I'll never forget. 650 children in the assembly. All their backs were straight. Right hand over the left hand, thumbs touching, chin tucked in, and start watching your breath. Only for 5 minutes. And afterwards, one of the teachers, they said, "That was a brave thing to do." Because if one of the kids, only one of the little children, now the 11-year-olds, had started laughing, the whole assembly would have started laughing, and I'd have lost my cred as a teacher. But they were all so silent. And afterwards, the meditation over now, they actually all gave me a clapping ovation. Never happened before. And the next 4 days, they were waiting for it. They really liked it. So I was a monk way ahead of my time. 1973, taught meditation to 650 kids. So 150, this is nothing. Yeah, big kids. But for younger kids, visualizations are great. Because the younger kids, I'm talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, that's a little bit too young to actually have the verbal skills to understand exactly what you're doing, but to visualize, kids are great. Over in Singapore, when there was, I think it was Waisak Day, yeah, what was that name? It was a kindergarten. Sorry? My Little Gems, yeah. And they asked me to go there just in the morning to actually to do something for them for Waisak. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I can't give a talk on the Four Noble Truths and dependent origination and the difference between samatha and vipassana. These are young kids. So it's great when you put on the spot, you have to innovate. So what I did, I remembered when I was a kid that we had this little exercise. Imagine you're a tree waving in the wind. Did you do that as a kid? I really amazing. But I still remember that, imagining it, visualizing, closing your eyes, you're a tree waving in the wind. It was really fun. And you really got into it. And so I said, okay, to the kids, it's Waisak. What happened on Waisak? The Buddha was born. So imagine that you walk 7 steps. And you put your finger, the right finger, kids. It's amazing how much they know even at that young age. This is my last life. I am the chief in the world. And they all got into that. That was easy for them to do. Okay, next, getting enlightened. So imagine you're the Buddha. There's a big statue of him in little kids. Imagine you're the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree. So sit down, cross your legs, right hand over the left hand, back straight, with a beautiful, serene smile on your face and really silent. And they would imagine that. And they were so quiet. And so I sort of looked to the teachers and said, should I get, no, don't get them out, this is good. But they really imagined being a Buddha, because they didn't really know what a Buddha was, but just sitting silent and peaceful and pretending. And I think they really got into that. And then the last one, the first sermon, that was wasn't done on Waisak Day, that was done on the Salha Puja. That's the first day of the rains retreat. But the day after parinirvana. So okay, kids, on the floor. Now it's easy for them. Now not on your back, on your right side. Your hand under the thing. And right leg over the left leg. And close your eyes. And pretend you're the Buddha entering parinirvana. And they were really good at that too. And again, I sort of milked it as long as possible, so they're really quiet. And they get some feeling for, the three things of Wesak. So imagination, young kids can really get into that. But when it comes to actually intellectual stuff, forget it. And the other thing to do is, like if you meditate and sit down, you'll find your dog comes in, your kid, so your cat sort of gets on your lap when you're meditating, and your kids meditate too. They follow, they just get into your energy, and they become quiet too. So one of the best ways of getting your child to meditate is you meditate. But the weirdest one, what age? True story, I collect weird stories from people I know, they're Buddhists, they keep precepts, and they just would not lie to a monk. So one of the disciples in Perth, she was in the hospital, she'd just given birth to her kid. I didn't say it was a boy or a girl. So in the bed in hospital, you're lying back, and she just finished breastfeeding her child. And so the child was really, really obviously peaceful and happy. And so the child then crawled onto the mum's belly and crossed its legs in full lotus, without mum doing anything, put its hands in its lap and closed its eyes, meditating. At least it was a really beautiful posture. Of course, she never had an iPhone there to take a photo or anything. That would really be weird to see that photo. But she said, I never told her anything. She meditated a lot. Maybe because when she was meditating just at home or in the temple just when she was pregnant. Maybe that's where the kid got it from. But the kid, just after being happy, just having a good feed, and then it just did it by itself. It sat there full lotus and good meditation position and just meditated. She was half freaked out and half very happy. A mix of emotions. But these things happen. So what age? Just straight out of the womb. Get her into it. You can't force it, obviously. But people do say that if you meditate when you're pregnant, of course I've got no personal experience of this. But if you meditate when you're pregnant, the baby is usually very peaceful, because it picks up on the mum's energy and it's really calm and peaceful. So it's a wonderful investment to get sort of more rest at night for you when you have a baby which is really calm and peaceful. What's the significance of closing our eyes during meditation? Can we still experience nimitta and jhana if we meditate with our eyes open? Very difficult with your eyes open. But one of the reasons why we close our eyes when we're meditating, so once you've got your eyes closed, and everyone's got their eyes closed, I can't do this because the camera on me. If you want to pick your nose, then no one's watching you. You can be comfortable. Would you do that when I'm watching you? Pick your nose? Oh, that's good. I figure, of course you wouldn't do that. You do that in your own room, in the bathroom, but not in public. So at least you can be more comfortable with your eyes closed. And it means one of the biggest distractions, which is the sense of sight, is closed down. So it's one less thing you have to worry about. More space in your brain to attend to things like physical feeling and sound, but hopefully not too much sound. Sometimes my heartbeat is very prominent compared to other body sensations. Oh, sometimes I do that to girls. I'm an old monk, so I can say jokes like that. No, so serious stuff. It beats quite fast and the pulse is a bit irregular. Is heartbeat an object suitable to be used during meditation? It's actually not a good object to use during meditation, because if you calm it down and calm it down and calm down your heartbeat. Then you might calm it down too far and you'll be dead. So, thank you for the question. A serious answer to this. Sometimes if you start to get excited during meditation, in other words, nimitta, start getting really peaceful, then sometimes boom, 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 it really does come up. It's just the body's reaction to excitement. And a simile of basically a image on a computer or on a TV, and learning how to zoom in. Because this is something, every time you go on an aircraft, they always say every aircraft is different, you must watch a safety demonstration, your safety is a priority for us, blah blah blah. I'm sorry if there's any any flight attendants or anyone here like that, but that you've seen it many, many times, so you have to watch it. But one thing which I did notice, that when you first watch the safety announcement on the screen, you can see the whole of the back seat in front of you. But after a few seconds, your mind or your vision zooms in, and it just fits inside the screen, so you can't see the plastic border or the upholstery of the seat in front of you. It zooms and then stops, so the screen exactly fits your mind. And that's the same if anybody has these huge plasma screen TVs at home. They are actually a waste of money. It doesn't matter how big the screen is, your mind zooms in and stops when it just fits in. Even on your little mobile phones, it zooms in and just stops when it just fits exactly into the mobile phone screen. So the experience is pretty much the same. So the only time you know how big your TV is when it's not turned on. Once it's turned on and you're really watching it, you just focus in. You can't see the edges. So anyway, this is the similar thing which you do with, say you got the breath, or you got a nimitta, or you got something there, and the heartbeat as well. And the heartbeat, if you give it importance, if that's really you're afraid of it, or you think it's really, I have to do something about this, you actually put that in the center of the screen automatically, because it's a problem, and you zoom in on it and the breath falls off, or metta falls off, everything else falls off. You just boom, 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 and your meditation is pretty difficult to do from that point on. But if you're just watching, say, the breath, the delightful breath, and you can feel the heartbeat, boom, 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 just keep the heartbeat on the edge of the screen. And as you zoom in onto the delightful breath, you can't feel the heartbeat anymore. It's gone. It's not sort of, you haven't stopped, his heart's still beating, but it's doing it by itself. And then because you're not paying any attention to it, it calms down. It doesn't beat so fast. It's not a problem for you. Just like I was saying, when you pay attention to the breath at the beginning, you disturb it. When you're paying attention to the heartbeat, you disturb it. So if you just imagine the simile of a screen, never put the problem in the center of the screen. Otherwise, everything else falls off. Even that's how I dealt with mosquitoes. Mosquito, bzz, bzz, bzz. I'm sure they do this in Malaysia as well. But in Thailand, they were really sadistic. They wouldn't just bite you and just get it over with. They go in your ear first of all, bzz, 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 which was mosquito language. I'm coming, I'm going to bite you, bzz, 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 you can't stop me. And then they bite you. But if I got really irritated with mosquitoes, then the itch or the mosquito would be center of my screen, and I couldn't see my breath. So what I would do, I'd watch my breathing, keep that in the center. I could hear the mosquito on the outside, bzz, 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 over here somewhere. Could feel it, just the itch or whenever it bit you. But it was over here. I kept the center on the breathing, and of course then you just zoomed in quite naturally on the breathing, and you couldn't feel your arm. You couldn't you couldn't hear the mosquito. You zoomed in. It's exactly what you do when you watch a movie on TV. You zoom in, and you can't feel that your legs have gone to sleep. When you're meditating, you can. But when you're watching a movie, and when you meditate, you can only do half an hour movie, 2 hours, 3 hours. So when you can zoom in on something, then you don't feel the rest of the body. So the heartbeat, not a good object to watch, but if it does come up, usually because of excitement, do the simile of the screen. Ajahn, is it the last moment or the last breath determine where you go in the next life? Haven't I told you to stay in the present moment? Why are you worried about your next life? You haven't finished this one yet. What if a good man who practices 8 precepts and did lots of wholesome deeds was robbed and had a big fight with the robber and scolded him, vulgarities, etc., but he was killed in the end by the robber in the fight? Will he edit a bad rebirth wait for him? Someone has been thinking too much. This is a joke, but I'll tell the other story afterwards. It's Christmas time, so this is this fellow. He dies, and he goes up to the pearly gates or whatever, and gets judged by St. Peter, and says, "Well, what have you done in your life?" And as I look in the book, you've done nothing good at all in your whole life, nothing at all. He said, "Oh yes, I did something good. I saw this girl being assaulted by these Hell's Angels, big bikies. I just would not let that happen. I had to go and protect her and save her." And Peter looks in the book. That's not in the book. When was that? Oh, about 2 minutes ago. In other words, Hell's Angels, they killed him. That's why he died. Okay, I thought that was funny. Anyway, never mind. But the other story in the book was the one about the gentleman from Sri Lanka, businessman, and he was a Buddhist because, he was a Sinhalese, and so his wife was a really devout Buddhist, and so, but he'd only go to the temple on Wesak Day. He was a Wesak Buddhist. Do you have them in Malaysia? So they'd only go on Wesak Day, and he really didn't like it. His business, and why feed these fat monks? They got enough money. I need it for my business. He wasn't very devout at all. But when he was at the temple, he was listening to the sermon by the monk. And the monk said exactly this: your last thought is really important. If your last thought is really good, you're guaranteed to have a good rebirth. And he gave an example. One of the best thoughts you could have at your last moment is of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And then he was a very smart businessman, really liked doing deals, and he wasn't sometimes that honest, but he thought, hey, I've got an idea. So when he went back home, he called a lawyer, and he changed the names of his 3 sons to Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Because he knew that his 3 sons would be there at his deathbed, filial piety. You always try and get back if one of your mother or father is dying. So, from that moment on, he never went to the temple again. Not even on Wesak Day, never gave any dana to the monks, never kept any precepts. Sometimes some, couldn't break them all at the same time. But then he went, eventually, in his old age, he got very, very sick. He was at his deathbed in the hospital, and his 3 sons were at his bedside. His plan was working. As he was really getting very sick, only maybe a few minutes or half an hour to go when he died, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, I'm going to heaven. Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, I'm going to heaven. Didn't deserve it, being such really not a bad person, just a greedy person all his life. Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, I'm going to heaven. He's working. And he's getting weaker and weaker, Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And then he thought for a moment, hey, if my 3 sons are here, who's looking after my shop? And that's when he died. So the point of that story is that you can't suddenly change in your last moment. If you've been a good person all your life, and then something happens and you lose and get angry at the last moment, still your goodness will come in, kick in straight after. And if there's any doctors here, you know that death is never a moment. It's actually it's a whole series of moments. So no doctor will ever be able to precisely say the exact moment of your death. They'd always say sometime between 8:05 and 8:10. It's a process, not an event, death. So because of that, your last thoughts, it's not a last thought. If you want to be accurate, it's the last series of thoughts. Is what happens when you pass away. So not a last thought, a last series of thoughts, because the death moment is not just instantaneous. What is exactly Vipassana meditation? It is the same as Samatha meditation. Keep it simple. So if you do Vipassana meditation, because when you are still, then you get wise. When you're wise, you become still. So you can't have one without the other. So usually say Samatha is calming things down. When you calm things down, you get energy, you get wisdom, and joy, and love and kindness. So when you calm things down, that causes Vipassana. But when you get Vipassana, you understand things, how your mind works. Of course, you let go of all these silly thoughts and fantasies which will never happen. So actually you calm down. So I always say the sign of insight is you're peaceful. The sign of peace is you see things, you get wise. So the two always work together. Ajahn Brahm used to hold his hand up. He said, that's Samatha, the front of my hand. That's Vipassana, the back of my hand. Now you see the back of my hand, you can't see the front of my hand, but I guarantee the front is there. Now you can see the front, not the back. You can't see both at the same time. But when there's one there, the front, the back is always following behind. When there's the back, the front is following behind. You cannot separate them. You call that Samatha and Vipassana. They always go together. It's not you do Samatha first and then you do Vipassana. You do Vipassana first and then you do Samatha. You do both together. They're always together. One may be in front, but the other one is following right behind. The other one might be in front, the other one's right next to it. They're all together. Ajahn Brahm, is it true that everyone will experience a nimitta upon death? Yes, that's true, and if you don't believe me, when you die, if you don't see a nimitta, you can come back and haunt me. And a well-trained meditator will know how to take advantage of the nimitta to become enlightened. Maybe not enlightened, but have a very good rebirth. A nimitta, you know how to not be afraid of it. Even now when people see nimittas, sometimes they don't know, they get scared. This is a nimitta, not a nimitta. What am I supposed to do? You relax, you let go. Then you get sucked into it. So you get a very, very good rebirth. Lots of bliss, lots of happiness. So it's well worth doing. And one who's not well trained will let the chance to become enlightened slip by. You don't get enlightened just by seeing nimittas. There's much more to it than that, but that's a good start. Thank you. Yeah. Whenever I sense the light coming up, after just a while of meditating, I don't know why I feel scared and feeling not ready, and my eyes are constantly shut until I can feel my eyebrows a bit hurt, trying so. Is that just imagination? Will, like a fake nimitta? Because it happens quite often, and mostly only a few minutes I sat for meditation. I tell myself not to be scared and don't do anything so many times, but still my eyes are so automatically reject the light vision. So, please don't laugh if I say anything wrong or stupid. So, certainly not, because otherwise the people get afraid of asking questions in the future. Know that imagination and reality, when it comes to the mind, are very close together. One of my disciples, Englishman, and he could never watch his breath. He tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. He just couldn't watch his breath. Maybe just one breath and then just something else would happen. You get too tense. So one day, this teacher told him, don't try and watch your breath. Just close your eyes and imagine you're watching your breath. Imagine you're watching your breath. Just imagine it. And so he closed his eyes. You just imagine what it must be like for all these other people who can watch their breath. And he was imagining watching his breath, and after 3 or 4 minutes, the teacher interrupted. What are you watching? My breath? It was just a very skillful means of actually getting past his psychological blockage that he couldn't watch his breath. He imagined he could, and he could. So sometimes our psychology, imagine that, that you can say chant in a nice voice. I said, I can't chant. If you imagine you can, and then after a while you can. You're breaking down mental barriers. So sometimes people actually do that. Soccer training. Imagine you can score a goal. Imagine it, visualize it, and then you find you can do it. So anyway, that's if you see a light, imagine they're real lights. Because that's so similar to the type of meditation called kasina meditation. That's where you create a light by just focusing on a real light, a simple disc, blue or yellow or whatever. So you focus on it and close your eyes until you can imagine it with your eyes closed, visualizing it. And then it's very simple to get an emitter up. But don't try that, that's a bit too much force. If a light comes up in the mind, and it's pretty stable and bright, why not just imagine that's an emitter and just carry on, see what happens. Ajahn Brahm, is scan of body doer or knower? When watching the breath, are we doer or knower? I don't know what to do, so do... No, it's the doer or the knower. If you scan the body, it's a little bit of doing, but mostly knowing. So you're scanning the body, so you get up to your knees, and I can feel my knees. So to get there, I do stuff. But now I'm just gathering information. I'm knowing the feeling in my knee. That's pure knower. And then maybe I just want to move it. That's doer. Now the knower gets feedback. That didn't work, so I'll put it back again. So it's mostly knowing, a little bit of doing. Are we doer or knower? Neither. You're waiting for the next question, or you? Would appreciate if you could repeat this morning's guided meditation. Sorry, I was so relaxing that I dozed off. Thank you very much. You have to take karmic responsibilities for your actions. Now, I think it was recorded. So it's recorded. So if you ask the management, they can record it again. And when you listen to the recording, you'll probably be able to pick up your snoring. There's no snoring. Ni hao, Ajahn. First of all, so happy to see Ajahn in real, not from YouTube. He. This is not the real Ajahn Brahm. Did you read that book, The No Ajahn Chah? Yeah, it's no Ajahn Brahm. It's just body, that's all. This is not me. I take no responsibility for this body. You feed it. So if I'm fat, it's your fault. No responsibility. If I tell silly jokes, it's my father's fault because he used to tell silly jokes. And anyway, I am a newbie in meditation, so I think I am stuck right after relaxing my body. My mind tends to create its own movie or scenario which sometimes doesn't make any sense or not relevant at all. Each time I notice that and persuade my mind to be aware of the present moment, my mind escape again. And ta-da, guess what? Another new movie. Need Ajah's wise advice on this. Now, what type of movie is it? You'll find most of them are trashy repeats. Reruns of old stories with no innovative plot, no great people just in the movie, just a sort of movie which would never get very far being produced in Hollywood. So it's trash. So, and in other words, after a while you get bored of the movies. So instead, you can do the little imagination, visual exercise of the two shopping bags. Should I wait till do it tomorrow morning? There's lots of questions. Please remind me to do the shopping bag meditation tomorrow morning. So that means you can be really anxious, very waiting on tenterhooks for the shopping bag simile coming tomorrow morning. But that's actually quite helpful, because that gives you something to visualize to get into the present moment and give the present moment a bit more grounding. Question about how to give energy to know. You mentioned that still mind will feed energy. Is still mind happen by placing mind to a place like maybe forehead? No, the forehead just, or visualize a circle. Please give more technique to give energy to the knower. You don't have technique. You just relax and rest. You don't do anything. The best image is to imagine you are the pilot in the cockpit and there's a dog ready to pounce if you do anything. So in other words, stillness. You don't move. You imagine yourself like a statue, just there, not moving from moment to moment, not doing anything. Not looking, not assessing, being really motionless. Then, look at the Buddha statue behind me. That's what I call stillness. That hasn't moved since we came on this retreat. So have a look at that Buddha. I mean, imagine that you are that still. That's not doing anything. And then you may fall asleep the first few days, but after you fall asleep the first few days, you get empowered, really energized. And so the energy arises naturally. So you don't force it, it just comes by itself. Question for Ajahn Brahm. In psychology, thoughts are automatic. This morning you mentioned we choose the thoughts. How do we know what thought to choose? You try and choose an interesting thought, but there's no interesting thoughts there. Then you look at a boring thought. And not a boring thought, any thought will do. When I was school teacher, first year as a school teacher, sometimes because I didn't know the ropes, I was warned about this. The first year of teaching in high school, so many classes, so many things to learn, preparing every lesson, you get exhausted. It was high stress, but they were saying next year, or the second year will be sort of okay. The third year will be just so easy. You got all the skills, you got the lecture notes, you know exactly what to do. And it was true. The first year I'd come back on my motorbike, go back to my little schoolhouse, and I'd turn on the TV. It didn't matter what was on the TV, rubbish, whatever, and have a cup of tea ready and watch rubbish because my mind, that's what it could do. It needed to re-energize, and then it woke up, and then I realized, what the heck am I watching? This is rubbish stuff. But it was the fact that when you are exhausted, anything will do. This is ridiculous, but it's true. When I was in this monastery in the north of Thailand by myself, then after a while I started getting bored. There was no books there. The only English book there, or book in English, because the previous monk who just ran away had done, he was a chemist. And so the only book written in English was a book of pharmaceuticals. And I found myself reading that, page by page. So this is crazy. There's just something in English to read. So that's what happens, thoughts. Any thought will do. You start off with the interesting ones, but if you run out of interesting thoughts, then just maybe totally useless thoughts, and then boring thoughts, anything to think. Because that is your comfort zone. You're used to thinking, and you don't know what to do in silence. That's why just even in, anyone whose accommodation is in the lobby area, people are always talking, making a loud noise. Why? Because they're afraid of silence. They don't want to know what to do when there's no noise. So to make people comfortable, that's why in elevators they have music. In the airport, only once did I go to an airport and sit in the prayer room, or sometimes they call it meditation room. Only once. I thought, I can get some peace and quiet in here. And as soon as I went in here, and I crossed my legs, closed my eyes, started watching my breath. If you see any bags left unattended, please call security, or they'll be towed away. Paging Mr. John Smith that your flight is about to leave, please go straight away. There's a special offer this weekend at the... And so far the meditation rooms, they were just as noisy as anywhere. There was no escape. So anyway, the thoughts are automatic. No, they're not. They're a sign that you are being a bit restless. So I said this to someone, and this is not sort of praising Buddhism. It's true that many psychologists get some of their greatest understandings and insights by listening to meditation teachers. The idea that you can be totally still is just, they don't know that in psychology. You can have hours without thinking. You can sit down there for a long time without drinking or eating. Just like that lovely story of this Vietnamese monk, Theravada, who was leading a retreat in Sydney. And usual beginnings of the retreat, which is a Friday evening start, half an hour, just get settled in, have an orientation by the manager, where to go, what time's meals, noble silence, all that stuff, the precepts. And then the monk. So half an hour meditation together first of all, 7:30 till 8. And then the talk, the welcoming talk. 7:30, monk was there meditating. 8 o'clock, he never opened his eyes to give the talk. 8:30, 9 o'clock, he was still sitting perfectly still. So what did all the devoted, patient lay supporters do? They went to bed. They didn't wait for him to come out. They went to bed and just had a nice night's sleep. When they got up in the morning, got into the hall for the morning chanting, the monk was still sitting there, hadn't moved. So they waited, to no chanting. Breakfast, monk still hadn't moved, so they just went to breakfast. No gongs, no bells. Had their breakfast, and then maybe washed. Then they came back into the hall there to listen to the morning talk at 8 o'clock. Hadn't moved. Ayo, indeed. The monk never moved for 8 days. Never drank anything, never ate anything, never went to toilet, never said anything. Never 8 days meditating. And when he came out of his meditation, the first thing he did was apologize. He said, I'm sorry that I got into a deep meditation, so peaceful, so still. I just forgot about time and never came out. He was perfectly healthy, but he apologized. And all the yogis there said, no, that was so inspiring. Even though you never taught anything by your words, just your presence was so encouraging. And even these days, people can do that. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, would a doctor think that's possible? Would a psychologist think that you can do things like that? So, it's amazing what you find out in Buddhism. It's really good. Oh my goodness. This question, I can't answer. This is beyond me. Whoever wrote this question, you're far advanced. Hello Ajahn, while sitting peacefully with stillness, there is a sudden surge of thought of having alcohol at beach, is this breaking precept? No, it's thinking about breaking precept, but it's not breaking precept. And it's a long way to a beach from here, so I think you're pretty safe. No, just, you can't break precepts through thoughts, but if you cultivate bad thoughts, and sometimes they can turn into bad actions. How do I know I am on the path or off the path, the Eightfold Noble Path? The path is, but no traveller on it is seen. So if you can see yourself on that path, I'm sorry, that's not the Eightfold Path. So you are on the path, you're vanishing, you're disappearing. You can hardly see yourself. You're disappearing. Now that's a sign you're on the path. But also be careful about the middle way, the middle path. Because there's an old saying that she who walks the middle path gets hit by traffic coming in both directions. So remember the right path, meditation good, but don't walk down the middle of the road. The Metta Sutta, can you kindly explain the below phrase? Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. It's sometimes you can do things in secret, behind closed doors. So I think, is that okay? It's what the wise may later reprove. So you don't want to be sort of told off. In other words, you get a sense of shame. So that even in private, you don't go around just, criticizing other people, thinking that no one's listening to you. Who knows? People can develop the type of meditation which can hear conversations a long way away. And just as on that subject, because there was a case of that, and when I first went, the first couple of days in Wat Pah Pong, there was a monk, a Thai monk who had this really deep meditation, and he let slip that he could hear conversations in the marketplace, which was about 6 kilometers away, or 8 kilometers away. And then if you make a claim like that, if you're making it up, just boasting, that is a disrobal offense. It's the same penalty as having sexual intercourse, murder, or stealing. The Buddha considered that really, really serious. So when he made that accusation, it had to be investigated. And so the monks investigated it, and so they recorded a conversation in the I don't know how they recorded it. It must have been in the old reel tapes, or they just noted it down, and they tested whether he could know that conversation accurately when it was in the Wat Pah Pong, and he could. It was real. They validated it. But what happened next, once he realized it was a real psychic power, very similar to what happened to Devadatta. He got proud and conceited. And he thought he was as good as Ajahn Chah. Great meditation, proven psychic powers. So one day he sat in Ajahn Chah's seat. And Ajahn Chah was really skilled, so he said, no, I need to talk to you. So in private, upstairs in Ajahn Chah's private quarters. And then the following morning, this monk, he realized that because of his powers, but not as much understanding of Dhamma, that he got conceited. And he admitted that, and then he bowed to every monk in the dining hall, including me. I was only just a young monk. Didn't know what he was up to. He bowed to every monk in the hall to say sorry. And then he left. I never saw him again. I don't know where he went. Probably into some forest or jungle somewhere, became fully enlightened, but realized the problem of announcing these things to other people. So, true story, but fascinating. So these psychic things, they do exist, but don't tell anybody, otherwise you become proud and arrogant because of it. Dear Ajahn, after we go back to our work home it is, imagine that was me, and if I told you I could prove you I could read minds, would you be scared? Really? If I told your partner what you were thinking? After we go back to our work home, it is easy for us to lose our stillness, mindfulness. What do you suggest us to keep the momentum going? Just on the weekends, go to the BGF and join the meditation groups. Don't go shopping or travelling around or go eating. Just, you can eat in the BGF cafe. Yeah, I saw that. Very good food. And you can enjoy all the friends there and have a bit of a meditation in a meditation hall. So you have the opportunity to keep the meditation going. It will never get as still as when you're on a retreat, but at least you can keep the pot warm. Sometimes a person can be so annoying to me. Even though she has done nothing to me, I feel annoyed just to look at his or her face. Or just to listen to their voice. What is the problem with me? Thank you. There was this Vietnamese girl married to an Australian man. They had a wonderful relationship. They loved each other, you know, very good match. The problem was her mother-in-law. The Australian mother-in-law just did not like her son marrying an Asian. And I tell people, those of you, how many of you have been to Bodhinyana Monastery recently? Yeah, last year. Some of you have, anyway. And they ask, how many Asians are there in Bodhinyana Monastery? How many Asian monks? How many Asian monks in Bodhinyana Monastery? No, they're all Asian monks. Some of them are Caucasian, some Australasian, some Malaysian. They're all Asian. But, you know, she was a little bit of a racist. And so, she had such a hard time, you know, trying to reconcile with her mum. And the mum saw her, just the relationship was just very difficult. She tried everything, loving kindness. May my mother-in-law be happy and well. Didn't work. Being generous and kind, making a delicious Vietnamese food. No, that didn't work. What else? Everything, praying, going to the temple and praying. You know why in Chinese tradition they pray like this? Did I tell you that before? It is because in Chinese tradition, Malaysian tradition, Singapore tradition, it is your grandma takes you to the temple first of all. When you're a very young boy or girl, she takes you there and she takes up the incense and she shakes it because she's got Parkinson's. And you're just a young kid, you think, oh, that's what I should do. And over the generations... That's what I think. They don't have none of that in Thailand or in Malaysia or Burma. You just pray and put it in there. No shaking. Park it. But what was I saying? I was just when I get into a joke. Mother-in-law. Oh, yes, right. Mother-in-law. So then we got the mother-in-law. So nothing was working. And so she tried to meditate, spread loving kindness, and that's when she had the dream. She had the dream. She was actually meditating in front of the statue of Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy. Meditating in front of Kuan Yin. And then she fell asleep and had this vision. Don't know if it was nimitta or vision, doesn't really matter. It was Kuan Yin. Came to her, sweetly smiling, beautiful, full of compassion. But there was something strange. Something unique about this vision of the goddess of mercy, Kuan Yin. The face. Yeah, you got it. The face was her mother-in-law's face. And that changed her whole perception of other people. You know, her mother-in-law is just really cruel and nasty. Whenever she saw her mother-in-law, she saw her mother-in-law's face, but surrounded by an image of Kuan Yin. Goddess of mercy. So that's what you do. This one over here. The one who sort of, you see people, you get some people really angry at them, you just can't like them, even the sound of their voice. Imagine them. If they're a girl, it's like Kuan Yin. And then your whole attitude changes. If it's a guy, imagine it's like Ajahn Brahm. Or whatever it is. And it's just you're changing perceptions. And you change perceptions and you see them as really kind and wonderful. And they pick up on it. And ever since that time, it was weird because she looked at her mother with kindness. Her mother-in-law reciprocated. And it just this wonderful, it totally changed. And so her mother-in-law just loves her daughter-in-law. So you can do things like that, not that hard. So how many of you like Donald Trump? If you have trouble with Donald Trump, just next time you see him on TV, imagine him in a brown robe, with little glasses, and no hair. When can one practice 8 precepts in retreat or in office desk-bound jobs? What if we are walking or working in sports training regime or delivery good jobs, heavy-duty jobs that require constant output of high energy? How do we overcome this lack of third meal? Can it be trained, or is it not suitable for this group of people to practice 8 precepts except at retreats or during weekends? Of course. You only do 8 precepts when you're on retreats or staying in a monastery, living a nice, peaceful life. But if you're really working hard, you're running a marathon, playing soccer, whatever it is, or just weightlifting, you need much more than just the morning meals. So it's usually the only time you do this is when you're in a monastery or temple and on the doing retreats. So don't need to do more than that. Middle way. Middle way. Be kind to your middle. Is meditation the only way? What about chanting? Yes, share other methods. The meditation is the only way. This is quoting from the sutta. From the sutta, Ezo wa mago nati anyo dasanasa visuddhya. Which you all know what that means, don't you? Nati, there is a nati. Ezo wa. This the only path. There is no other for the purity of insight. Meaning 8-fold path. Not meditation alone. Because sometimes people think, oh, I just need to meditate. Don't need to do any precepts. Don't do any dharana. No kindness. No service. Just meditate. And they meditate. Get out of my way. I'm meditating. Mosquito. Disturbing my jhana. That is not the 8-fold path. So it's the 8-fold path is the way to Nibbana. It includes meditation, it includes your precepts, it includes kindness, it includes generosity, it includes many, many things. Mindfulness. That's the path. Hello Ajahn, I have felt a warm spot, I thought a worm, in my back. A warm spot in my back. My question is, can we transfer the energy to somewhere else? No, just keep it there. If that's where a warm spot is, let it stay there. It's obviously doing some sort of healing work there. And you don't know why or what it is, but it's always really good. And if you start to let it be, it gets warmer and warmer, and then eventually you feel very good. And if there's any other problem in your body, that warm spot will move by itself once the first work is done. So I don't have osteoporosis. Maybe we can transfer the energy to eyes to cure myopic. No, it just will go by itself. So you just let it be. Don't try and control these things, otherwise you disturb them. I have an ache on my body. The ache disappears during meditation, but returns after meditation. Why is that? Was I meditating, or was it just the doer controlling, imagining the pain away in my head? if you had an ache on the body, if it's a chronic ache, the ache disappears during meditation because you're paying attention to something else. It's just like focusing and the pain just falls off to the side. Sometimes people tell me that they are playing football or rugby or something and they break their leg. They actually break their leg and they carry on playing because they're so focused on the game they can't feel the pain in their body until afterwards. So sometimes if you focus on something a bit more beautiful, just like a breath, and it's delightful, then you won't feel any ache. But sometimes it comes back afterwards. But the weird one is if you really get into deep meditations, nimittas or jhanas. I couldn't understand this at first. Sometimes an hour or 2 hours when I was young, the knees were getting a bit stiff. It wouldn't hurt, but you just stiff and a bit of an ache here, an ache there. But if you meditated for 5 hours, there's no aches at all. It's like, you just sat down. Really powerful, lots of energy and lots of bliss. And you felt that you could run against Usain Bolt and probably beat him. Yeah, that's the sort of power you feel. And no aches or anything in the body. It's great. But if you want to do that, you can't. You just got to let go of all wanting, and the body does it itself. Since you have written up to stage of jhana 4, can I presume that you have exceeded that level? That means above the Ajahn Brahm's level, an arahat. You decide for yourself. Okay, I've recorded this on tape. Actually, I'd put it on a TV before, because as a monk I'm not allowed by Pajitya 8 to tell of any attainment. But, people, they need to know. And you've got to sort of, tell people, you've got to be honest. And so when I was asked on a TV by a whole group of monks, Ajahn Brahm, can you do these jhanas? I was getting so fed up with always being asked and not being able to answer. I decided to let them know the truth. And I told them, Ajahn Brahm cannot enter jhana. I can't do it. Honest. I can't enter jhana. Ajahn Brahm has to vanish and disappear first, and then jhanas happen. I can't do them. I have to stop all this doing and disappear. The path is, but no traveller on it is seen. Nibbana is, but not the person who enters it. And I was, without revealing anything and getting into trouble, that I was teaching something. All this, you want to do things. That this monk is an arahat, this nun is a non-returner, that is total gomayam rubbish. People aren't arahats. They vanish and they disappear. Then the arahat is. Not a person, not a being, but a state of letting go, a disappearance. Which is one of the reasons why people would never claim these things. Makes no sense. Is Ajahn Brahm an arahat? What is an arahat? Is it my body is an arahat? Nah, doesn't look like an arahat. Is my Vedana, my experience arahat? It comes and goes. My perception, my will, my consciousnesses, there's 6 of them, and they interchange. Which one is it? When you look at it that way, with accuracy according to the Dhamma, the question doesn't make any sense. You're vanishing. Your delusion is going. And with it, your sense of self. As I said this morning, you're gone, baby. You're gone. People like that baby thing. So if you come across anyone who says that they're enlightened or they're this or that, that's very dodgy. Please explain to me the difference of Eckhart Tolle, the power of now meditation, and Lord Buddha meditation, leading to enlightenment. Eckhart Tolle made a lot of money out of that. The Lord Buddha never did. That's basically the difference. But it's good teachings as long as you get into the present moment. But there's more to it than just the present moment. More things have to disappear, not just time. Can you please provide basic guidance on how to do walking meditation? I think I did that this morning. Yeah, okay. So I know there's some questions from yesterday. So if they're the old questions, I will not repeat them. How does one distinguish between contentment versus complacent? Contentment versus laziness, unambitious, kindness and being a doormat. It's when there's something to do, then do it. When there's nothing to do, then do nothing. How many of you, when there's nothing to do, don't know how to do nothing? You have to do something. And you make an idiot of yourself or make a nuisance of yourself. You don't have to do it. But you're so used to doing stuff that you have to do something. So it's one of the reasons why in meditation you've got nothing to do. You're sitting here. And what do? You try and get enlightened. You're always up to some mischief, some goal, some doing something. Can't you just do nothing? Just relax. Well, you said there's nobody in here anyway, so who's trying to get enlightened? Who's trying to achieve jhanas? The trouble is that sometimes people come along and say, oh, you were at one of those retreats, 9 days you were there. What did you do? What did you get? I said, nothing. You stupid, how much did you pay for that? You could have gone somewhere, Christmas, you go shopping, you go travelling, doing something, do a course or improve yourself. No, I just sat there doing nothing for 8 days. And of course, they don't appreciate the beauty of disappearing and vanishing. Bliss upon bliss upon bliss. Whoa. So, if it's contentment, you get happy. Complacent, you get dull. Contentment versus laziness, ambitiousness. Ambitious is that if you achieve your ambition, you'll get disappointed. It's unfaithful to you. You just believe the marketing. If you become rich, yay, now I can live happily ever after. Then you have to worry about stock market and investing your money and where to get the best returns and make sure people don't steal it. When you're ambitious, being famous, being recognizable. So you can't even go in the toilet without somebody asking you meditation questions. So, ambition. There is this Middle Eastern curse, I think it's from Iran. And it's the worst curse you can put on anybody, apparently. And whoever made this up really knew what they were doing. I praise their wisdom. They said, the worst curse, may you get everything you want as soon as you want it. Immediately. That's a curse. Imagine that. That would wreck your life. Whatever you want, it appears immediately. And being a doormat. That's my whole life, being a doormat. Wipe your feet on me. No, you're not always a doormat. It's only when people come in and go out and you take the doormat away to wash it and just to store it, everything. Not always a doormat. So you can always be, kindness always means you can always be the snake who hisses when people make use of you. But service is a wonderful thing. And just giving and helping others. Not really being concerned about yourself. And whenever you've really, 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 really given, I say, okay, be a doormat. That's what I'm here for. It's amazing just how much love and peace and respect you start to generate. So, sometimes it's nice just being with a person and just letting them unload their troubles They're just wiping all of their rubbish all over you. They're dumping all their problems inside of you. But you know the trick of being not just a doormat, but a rubbish bin. That's what people do to me. They tell me all their troubles about their family. I became a monk to avoid that. All their kids. And that's why I live by myself. Financial problems. I don't have any money. All that sort of stuff which they dump on me. But I receive all of it. As Ajahn Brahm taught me, you be a rubbish bin, a dustbin, a trash can, with a hole in the bottom. So, as soon as they've dumped on you, it goes right through you, and you are empty for the next dump of rubbish. It's wonderful doing that. So yeah, you can tell me anything, and then just it disappears. I take nothing back with me. Totally empty. So that is actually how we allow people to use as a doormat. They wipe their feet, and then the rubbish disappears. So it's nice and clean for the next person to wipe their shoes on you. What's wrong with being a doormat? Anyway, doormats are cool. How do I get rid of the pain on my legs? Aspirin? That doesn't work. Amputation? Anesthetic? I don't know. No, I'm joking this time of night. I can't seem to sit very long. The pain on my legs will creep in within 30 minutes during my sitting. I sit cross-legged. Also, when the pain occurs, should I endure it or should I shift around? Shift around. What is the secret to sit for hours without any body pain? To get into the deep meditation, so you just totally cut the connection between your mind and your body for that time. So that's to get into nimittas or jhanas, then you don't feel any pain for hours. Otherwise, the body is always just, the body is a pain, that's what it is. I think I mentioned, did I mention this at BGF? Just when I'm looking at people, none of you are standing still, you're either rubbing your hands, or you're adjusting your foot, or you're scratching your nose, or you're pushing your head around, or you're pursing your lips and just putting your hand to the side and yawning, or you're smoothing your hair, or you're banging your knees. Look at what people do. And you don't notice you're doing all of this. I do the same when I'm not meditating. You know, scratching your lips, moving your hair again, arranging your we do this because it's so common, it's so ordinary, we don't notice it. But to be able to sit perfectly still, not moving at all, that is really uncommon. And the only way you can do things like that is actually to get into some deep meditation. Otherwise your body is always painful. But to start off with, you won't get into deep meditation if you start off with a body which gets painful very quickly. You don't get any extra by sitting cross-legged on the floor. For goodness sake, start using the chairs. I'm not sure if I should say this, but if there's anyone over 60, then can they use the VIP room in the afternoon when I'm not there? Nice, beautiful, comfy chairs. After my interviews are finished, make use of it. They're beautiful, comfy chairs. Anyone over not 16, 60. Because they're much more comfortable than these things over here, these chairs. You can sit there, not all afternoon, but just for a bit of a break. Close your eyes, meditate, not just to read a book or have a cup of tea, but just to meditate on those sofa-like cushions. Why not? They're there, make use of them. But don't always think you have to sit meditating on the cross-legged on the floor. Pain and legs. In some retreats, we are not allowed to read Dhamma books, even books on meditation, as we are encouraged to focus on our meditation practice. Should be rereading your book on the jhanas during this retreat, because my book is not any book. Yeah, of course, why not? Or should we wait till we get there, go home? No, because that little book on jhanas, you can't spend the whole retreat reading that. It's such a small book. So yeah, you can do that. Can a person do running meditation? What did Ajahn Chah's biography, what was the name of his biography? Oh no, wasn't it still water running? Not rowing, running. Not stillness running. I was trying to give you a possibility. Running meditation, if you do running meditation, you can get focus, but you can't get to jhanas. Otherwise you'd still be running, not know where the heck you're going to. So running is okay, as long as you're not trying to get somewhere. Like whenever the Olympic Games, I just couldn't make any sense of it, because they run around in circles. So many laps and laps and laps and laps. So, you know, where do they get? Can't they just, you know, they just start and they sit down, you know, maybe 1,000 meters or something, where they do about 4 laps. They sit down after they started and then just catch up with the rest on the 3rd lap or the 4th lap. It doesn't work, does it, unfortunately? So anyway, yeah, if it gets you focused, it gets you exercise and energized, but you know, make sure that when you are, if you get very still, then sit down. Why is listening to music or making music an unacceptable sensual pleasure? It depends what type of music. For example, that we were doing a fundraiser once for our nuns' monastery in Perth, and Summer is a very wealthy girl. She said, I have a $10,000 check here for your nuns' monastery, a donation, on condition that you sing a song. She wanted me to break my precepts and sing, to help fund our nuns' monastery. And it's amazing the sacrifice of Ajahn Brahm. So I did get that $10,000 check, but I said, as long as you let me sing, make the choice of the song I sing. You can sing any song, I'll let you choose, she said. So I said, okay, hand over the $1,000 check first of all. It was for the nuns' monastery. And I said, I choose to sing the very famous classic song by Simon and Garfunkel, The Sound of Silence. And I was silent for 3 minutes. I made sure she couldn't snatch the check away. But she realised she'd been outwitted by a monk. So anyway, but sometimes the music actually just stays in the mind after it finishes. You can't get it out. It's one of the reasons why it's hard enough to let go of thoughts, but music is sometimes really catches you. Can the same method to deal with anxiety or panic attack be applied when we are angry or furious? Yeah, it's an interesting thing to try. But when you're angry, very often you are not focused on yourself. You're focused on the person who you believe is the cause of your anger and frustration. So you never actually think of yourself or feel yourself when you're angry. It's just that person, what I'm going to do to them. You don't actually feel how it burns you inside. So even if you could turn your attention to your own body when you're angry, that by itself would probably stop the anger in its tracks. But you're not aware at all. You're aware of the other person, who you believe, you misbelieve really, that you they're the cause of your anger. Question: during meditation, my thoughts keep going everywhere, like you said, a monkey mind. How do we practice to get away from the monkey minds? That is unacceptable in today's world, to assume that your wandering thoughts are what happens to monkeys. That is not fair on the monkey kingdom. You should ask them what... Because there was that story, lovely story, about the monkey in Colombo on Wesak Day. A monk, because if ever you go, well, all places in Asia, whenever it's Wesak Day, there's always a big feast. So a monkey went from the jungle into one of the big temples on Wesak Day in Sri Lanka, just hoping that somebody would drop something, a banana or a mango, because it's almost certain to happen. So the monkey was just waiting to get lunch. And as he was waiting, he heard the monk give the sermon. And he was talking about meditation, about the monkey mind. And that's why the monkey was interested. Oh, they're talking about us. What are they talking about us? And then this priest, this monk was saying, monkey mind is very bad. You should stop the monkey mind. Try and get rid of the monkey mind. Do whatever skillful means possible to get past the monkey mind. And the monkey was saying, hey, this is defamation. Now, he can't say that in today's world. You know, instead of me too, he wanted to start monkey too. You know, just being really mean to monkeys. This is who we are, you know. We're monkeys. We've got monkey mind. It's not right. I'm going to complain. I'm going to write a letter to the World Wildlife Fund. This is discrimination against monkeys. And he was very mad and angry. He swung back into the forest where he lived and told all the other monkeys what he'd heard these Buddhist monks saying about monkeys. They're supposed to be compassionate and respectful. These monks are not respectful at all. They just respect themselves, but not monkeys. They were really upset, and the other monkey said, yeah, that's right, we've got to do something about this. You can't just be a doormat as a monkey, maybe Ajahn Brahm can, but not we monkeys. We've got to stand up for our rights. And the head monkey, very old and wise, and said, that is exactly what the monk was talking about. Look at you, jumping up and down, complaining, no stillness at all. That's a monkey mind. And all this monkeys, oh yeah. I suppose we have to admit it, we've got monkey minds. We've got monkeys. But what can we do about it? And the old monkey said, well, actually, I've been to that temple too. And I've heard the Ajahn, the teacher there, say that meditation overcomes the monkey mind. And all the monkeys, yeah, okay, let's meditate. We're all going to meditate. Yeah, let's meditate. We meditate so we don't have monkey minds anymore, so no one will criticize us anymore. Let's do this. He said, be quiet. That's monkey mind all over again. So first thing you need to do is actually, you've got to get like a cushion or a pillow. So go into the forest, get some leaves, some grass, and make yourself a nice zafu. Yeah, we'll make a nice zafu. So they all ran into the forest, and they got some leaves, they got some twigs, they got some nice soft grass, and nice soft leaves, and they came together and they made it into a nice little ball, and they put it under their bottom, and said, well, we've got a zafu now. Now what do we do? Now the next thing you have to do is actually cross your legs. Yeah, so they all cross their legs. And now put your right paw over your left paw. Thumbs touching, back straight. Close your eyes and watch your breath. So all the monkeys who were so keen to overcome the monkey mind, they all followed the orders. And that was the first time in history the monkeys ever meditated. But not for long. After about 30 seconds, one monkey opened their eyes and put their hand up and said, excuse me, I've been thinking. You know, we planned to actually raid the banana plantation while the owners at the temple, Wesak Day, to get a lunch. I'm like, yeah, we've been thinking the same. Yeah, what should we do? And he said, let's get that out of the way first of all. We'll raid the banana plantation, bring all the bananas back, but we won't eat it yet. It's too early. But we get this out of the way. Get this done so we don't have to worry about it. you know what that means? You know, just, oh, I've got to write this letter, do this email, I've got to wash this, pack my bags, I've got to do all these things, and then I meditate. So off they went, and they raided the banana plantation because the owners were and the guards were in the Waisak ceremony. Got lots of bananas, but it wasn't lunchtime yet. Patience, so they put all the bananas in the middle of the clearing. They all went back under their safus, crossed their legs, right hand over the left hand. Sorry, no, right paw after the left, over the left paw, thumbs touching, back straight, chin down, breathing in, breathing out. Excuse me, said another monkey. I've been thinking, planning. You know, before we eat those bananas, we have to peel them first. Let's get that out of the way first. We won't eat them, just peel them. Because I've been thinking, that's been worrying me. So, okay, yeah, they all agreed. So, up from their cushions, they peeled all the bananas, got it nice and ready. They didn't eat anything yet. They went back to their zafus, crossed their legs, back straight, right paw over the left paw, thumbs touching, chin down, close their eyes, meditating. Breathing in, breathing. Excuse me, said another monkey. You know, before we eat those bananas, we have to put them in their mouth first. We won't eat them, just put them in the mouth, that's all, just preparation, so we don't have to worry about it for the term of the meditation. Good idea, said all the monkeys. So all the monkeys got a banana and put it in their mouth. About 3 monkeys put 2 bananas in. You know what people are like. And one monkey put 3 bananas in. But they didn't eat them yet. They went back to their cushions. They closed their eyes. Closed their eyes, a right paw of the left paw, thumbs slightly touching, chin down. They never interrupted anymore, because when everyone had their eyes closed, all those bananas disappeared down their throats. That's what we call the monkey mind. Getting everything out of the way first of all, and leaving meditation to the very last, if ever. Wonderful little story on monkey mind. So be careful. If you've got a monkey mind and you don't train it, you know what happens in your next reincarnation. The most respected teacher, Ajahn Brahm, I found out more easy to get still when teacher is around. I'm always around. His roundness, Ajahn Brahm. So I better not go on a diet, because if your teacher is not round, then you won't get stillness. I found it more easy to get still when my teacher is round. I tried to meditate at home. After retreat, battery still high, but after half a year I lose motivation. Please give some advice. Thank you very much. Really good advice, serious advice, no joking, is get copies of the guided meditation, especially the ones you like the most. So the guided meditation, in your iPod, and put your earbuds in, get it started, and it's like your Ajahn Brahm is with you. If you don't like my teachings, other monks' teachings, other nuns' teachings, your favourite batch of guided meditations, and then put them in your iPhone and start them. And it's so easy to meditate there. It's like being back in Swee cave. And that actually works. Motivates you, gets you started. Otherwise, if you try it by yourself, you just wander off all over the place. Ajahn Brahm, I am a beginner in meditation. No, you're not a beginner. You've been doing 3 days already. Besides starting by relaxing the body, is there such a thing as right or wrong way of meditation? If not, how would I know if I'm doing it the right way? If you're getting more and more peaceful, more and more calm, more happy, that's how you know you're going the right way. You really relax and the body feels so at ease, and the mind becomes peaceful and still. But tomorrow I'll start talking more about the present moment awareness, and also some breath meditation as well. Not just the joy, but the following the breath and what happens. Tonight is silent night. Just want to share this. My belly is flat, with the L in silence. Merry Buddhamas. Oh yeah, it is Buddhamas today. We know where Christmas started. It started as a celebration on the 25th of December in Rome for the god Mitra, or Mithra. But if you pronounce it another way, Mitra. Mitra Day. Friendship Day. That's an interpretation, but any philologists, if you can actually say that word, philologists, people who study words will probably argue with me, but I like it that way. Mitra Day. Especially Kalyana Mitra Day. Ajahn Brahm, when people are dying, they see their deceased loved ones. Are these images real? Do the deceased really come and introduce you to the next world? Thank you. Depends who the loved one really was. If it's your mother-in-law or your ex. No, a lot of times it can be, real, because that you are sort of sometimes attached. They're attached to you. They look after you. They want you to be okay. And sometimes they do come and help. So if you see a ghost of your loved one, I don't want to die yet. So anyway, yeah, sometimes it's true. And sometimes these kids, they see loved ones and they've never been told they've died yet. And they say, oh, I saw Uncle George. He came to say hello, to say I'm coming with him soon. And they haven't been told that Uncle George died. Please advise how to reduce sloth and torpor. I did that this morning. I see my breath and follow, but will lose it after a while. I have taken your advice to rest and sleep. Well done. I think I mentioned that this morning. I think the whole talk was on that, so I don't think I need to do it again. Ajahn, you mentioned in your book, The Jhanas, a lay disciple once told you how he'd experienced a deep jhana while meditating at home. His wife thought he had died and sent for an ambulance. That was Greg. He was rushed to the hospital, and in the emergency room there was no heartbeat on the EEG, no brain activity on the ECG and EEG. The doctor on duty put defibrillators on his chest to reactivate his heart. And I always remember seeing, this was quite a few years ago now, apparently they don't use defibrillators now, they use adrenaline. But, his wife told me that, they used, she was there watching, scared, they used defibrillators. I don't know that, but that's just what she was telling us. The doctor, when he emerged from the jhana in the EI, didn't recollect anything that happened to him. Not on his body, but he recollected everything, what was happening inside of him. Bliss, beautiful mindfulness, totally aware, having the time of his life. His 5 senses are shut down. His 6th sense, the mind, was fully alert. Is it normally the case that in jhana states there will be no heartbeat or brain activity in the meditator? 4th jhana. But under that, there will be some heart activity. But your heart stops in the 4th jhana. Weird. But there was, I think I read this, somebody sent me an article, there was a Indian yogi who claimed he could do that. And so they put him in a box and lowered him in the ground, but they had electricity there, and so that they had him monitored all the time. And just as he said, after a few minutes, his his heart stopped beating, his brain stopped, but he was always warm. And that's the difference between death and being in deep meditation. Your body remains warm. And I mentioned that Greg was also warm throughout the whole procedure, which is one of the reasons why the doctor never gave up on him, because if you really are dead, you go cold. So anyway, this Indian yogi, and he was in there about 7 days or 10 days, I forget how long, and the doctors were using him as an experiment. And he said after such a time he would emerge from his samadhi, and he did. And just when he said he'd emerge, well, his heart started beating, his brain was normal, they hauled him up, and he was fine. Weird, but true. In your many stories, there's a monk patting King Cobra. May we know who the Ajahn is? Oh, you all know him. That's Ajahn Brahm. Still alive. I don't know about the cobra. Oh, is that what you meant? Who it was? Which cobra it was? It's a king cobra. You know the story that in the jungles of Thailand, he was meditating with a number of monks, so he had witnesses. And a big king cobra came up to him. In that, they always have these nicknames for these animals. In that part of Thailand, it was called the one-step snake. Because once it bit you, that's all you had left of your life. One step. Ugh. That's why it's so venomous. So, meditating, they heard this animal come in the forest. They opened their eyes. Even Ajahn Brahm opened his eyes. And the king cobra raised its head, opened its hood. I'm not going to do this time because the last time I did it, somebody really started. The story was more dangerous than the cobra. Right in front of his nose. What do you do? What Ajahn Brahm did, he raised his hand and he patted the king cobra on the head, saying in Thai, "Thank you for coming to visit me." And it is so rare for a cobra to have his head patted and blessed by such a venerable monk. Oh, that was just so blissful. Imagine being patted by the Buddha, next best thing, patted by a monk. He enjoyed every minute. Of course he didn't bite him. It's so rare. If he bit the hand that patted him, he wouldn't pat him anymore. So he enjoyed every moment. And once he finished with that monk, he apparently closed his hood, put his head down, and went to see the second monk. And he said, "No way, no. Go back to Ajahn Brahm." So do you want to hear my snake story? I'll get the last story before you all go to bed. Otherwise you'll have dreams of snakes tonight. So in Wat Pah Pong, we used to stay up, on the full moon night, stay up all night meditating. There's really a lot of sloth and torpor, but sometimes you've got some deep meditation. And in the morning, just before we went to alms round, you had to go to the toilet. The toilet was a forest, because, there's lots of jungle. This was in another monastery, not Wat Pah Pong. Lots of jungle, so like everybody else, you squatted down, Asian style, and it's like you do on pilgrimage in India. Squatted down Asian style and just urinate in the forest. Maybe it was because it was the first light of day, so it wasn't very bright. And also you're a bit dull. So when I urinated, I really did think I was urinating on a stick. Quite a thick stick. But then the stick started to wiggle. And I thought, I'm peeing on a snake. And it's quite a venomous snake I was urinating on. And yeah, I owe indeed, because for you guys especially, the most sensitive part of the male anatomy was about that far from a venomous snake's fangs. That was really dangerous stuff. But that snake, did it bite me? Did it try and run away? No. It actually stayed there. You know why? Because I'm sure that snake understood it was holy water. Straight from the source. And even better, warm holy water. Enjoyed every moment of it. So if any one of you wants a blessing, no way. Okay, let's do the sharing of merits. Idang first. idam me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu yatayo. Idam me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu yatayo. Idam me yatinang hotu sukhita hontu yatayo. 3 big sadhus. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Christmas, Santa Claus, ho, ho, ho. Okay, see you in the morning.